A letter to American Oversight. American Oversight, I read your article. I read every line. And the more I read it, the more clear it became. This is not about truth. This is not about transparency. This is about control. You frame your group as a watchdog. You claim you chase truth. Yet every word targets one man and one movement. Every word attacks President Trump. Every word avoids the real problem in Washington, which is the hold that Marxist thinkers have on our government. I speak openly because I am tired of this game. I come from a Christian worldview. I believe in personal freedom. I believe this nation rises or falls on truth and not on fear. And your article runs on fear. You push the idea that Trump is hiding something. You push the idea that anyone around him is a threat to democracy. You know what you never address. The decades of secrecy from the globalist class that you refuse to expose. You ignore the shadow work done under the previous administrations that hid spying operations and backroom deals. You ignore how the old establishment built entire systems that keep ordinary Americans in the dark. This article was never honest. It was a political attack. You open with claims that Trump hides information, yet you never mention the missing emails from the earlier years. You never mention the closed-door deals with foreign governments. You never mention the classified leaks that no one ever answered for. You come after Trump because he is the only major figure in Washington who challenges the establishment's obsession with central power. When you mention Heather Honey, you act like her very existence is a crime. You use the phrase election denial as a label. You do not debate her points. You do not engage her claims. You mock her and then present your lawsuit as a rescue mission. That is not transparency. That is pressure. You want to scare anyone connected to Trump. You want to scare anyone who questions the narrative about the 2020 election. You want total silence from anyone who challenges Washington's new religion, which is compliance. Here is the truth that you avoid. Scripture warns that the world will always move toward control. In 1 John chapter 4, the apostle warns that many false spirits go out into the world. These false spirits aim to shape public thought. They aim to silence the people who speak truth. Christ says in the Gospel of John that the truth will set us free. Anything that hides truth or attacks those who seek it is a system of control, and your article fits that pattern. Your lawsuits are dressed up as virtue, but they serve one purpose. You want to intimidate anyone who stands beside Trump. You claim that Honey repeated frightening rhetoric. That phrase is vague on purpose. You want people to picture something dark and sinister, but you never show any proof. You never show any actual harm. You want that fear in the mind of the reader because fear breeds control. You accuse Trump of wanting to subvert elections, but what you describe is a review of what went wrong in 2020. You turn a reasonable request for verification into a threat. You pretend that any attempt at honest oversight is an assault on democracy. That is control. You frame your story in a way that demands blind trust in the current system, even though the system is run by the same people who expanded surveillance and censorship for years. You attack voter maintenance work. Yet every state already checks voter rolls. Every state removes ineligible names. Every citizen knows that a clean voter roll protects the vote. You turn normal work into a conspiracy because you want people afraid of any reform that comes from the Trump side of the aisle. You claim that the greatest threat is voter suppression, but you ignore the real suppression. You ignore the censorship of conservatives. You ignore the weaponization of federal agencies against parents. You ignore the intelligence operations run on Americans. You ignore the secrecy surrounding how these agencies store personal data. Your claims about non-citizen voting try to paint a simple issue as racist or oppressive. But the Bible teaches stewardship. Christ says in Luke chapter 16 that anyone who is faithful with little will be faithful with much. Elections are a form of stewardship. Leaders have a duty to guard the process. When Americans ask questions, they are not a threat. They are doing what free citizens do. That is not suppression. That is responsibility. Your article mocks any attempt to secure elections because you want the public to distrust Trump before they even hear his plans. You want to shape the story. You want to guide the opinion of the people. That is the very thing you claim to fight. Then you move to the text message lawsuit. You act shocked that some messages were not found, yet this happened across earlier administrations too. You did not sue them. You did not demand their digital records. You did not post daily updates warning the country that democracy was at risk. You only do that when Trump is in the White House. That reveals the motive. It is not about fairness, it is about control. You want to create an image of chaos around Trump so that people fear his leadership. American oversight here is what you avoid. The people are tired of being manipulated. They see the double standard. They see how the same government that hides its own failures stands before cameras demanding trust. They see how the same leaders who shut churches still support violent protests. They see how the leaders who claim to defend democracy bend every law to stop one man from running. Your article presents Trump as a danger. But the real danger comes from institutions that want unchecked power, systems that demand silence from citizens, agencies that chase political enemies while ignoring real threats. Christ teaches that rulers exist to serve. When rulers use fear for power, they move outside the will of God. Your lawsuits do not serve the people. They serve a narrative created by a political class that hates the idea of an independent America. You claim to defend democracy, but the fruit of your work is division and pressure. Christ said that a tree is known by its fruit. The fruit of your article is fear. The fruit of your claims is power. The fruit of your lawsuits is the control of public thought. So I will say it again. This is about control, not transparency, not justice, not truth. You want to shape the public mind and weaken the man who stands in the way of the Marxist vision in Washington. I stand with truth. I stand with Scripture. I stand with the right of Americans to question their government without being hunted by lawsuits. And I will keep speaking until the truth breaks through the noise. Thanks for reading. Please like, subscribe, and leave a comment to support this channel.